All right. Dot really needs to hold this critical level that it had conquered over the last couple of days for it to move higher. I'm looking at the daily chart for Dot. Let's point out very quickly and simply this level of 7.3 to 7.6 right here in the maroon color. You can see I'm on the daily chart for Dot. The market reacted several times as we moved up into it, was pushed back down, moved up into it, pushed back down, broke through, immediately retested it about 2 days later. The market took off from there, acted as a magnet through this indecision point right here, went up and tested, went up and tested. So this is a very critical area in the lifespan of Dot. If I scroll out, you can even see back here historically, and even back as far as what's this, 2022, it has been a critical level for Dot. Even here, see where the market stopped and reacted? That means it's a critical level, and it's still acting as a critical level even up to this point these days. Now, Dot did, and over the past week has, let's go to the weekly chart, by the way. Over the past week, did go through that with a nice green candle, closed above this very critical level of 7.6. And right now, due to some softness across altcoins, you can see the red, and due to the softness of altcoins, we have given some back yesterday across most altcoins. Most altcoins were red, and we're really kind of drifting down into this level right now. We'll have to see if it holds. Why are we seeing some drift down by Dot and by other coins? Well, the fact of the matter is Bitcoin, that's a lot of doodling I did on the last video. Matter of fact is on Bitcoin, we have been wrestling right here. You can see after this fantastic run up that started back really here in January of 23, 23rd of January, we are kind of stagnating right here at 52,000 roughly for Bitcoin. And if I go to the 1 hour in Bitcoin, you can see we actually made a pretty decent low here that we hadn't hit in a few days, where we went up to 53,000. That turned out to be a head fake because 4 hours later, we came down and hit a low of below 51,000. Now, of course, that didn't last long. That was picked up pretty quickly and pushed us back above 52. But that's why we saw some softness in altcoins. At some point, I was making videos for Bitcoin or for other coins, and Bitcoin was around 51.5, 51.4. I think I even saw 51.2 today. And so when you see Bitcoin sliding down, the first things that are going to react are the altcoins. Bitcoin pushes these altcoins up, or pulls these altcoins up, you'd probably better say. And once Bitcoin stalls, you know, Bitcoin's going up, and then over time, your altcoins will go up. It might be a few days later, this altcoin, this coin, maybe even a couple of weeks later it takes, while Bitcoin is kind of doing its thing, right? But as soon as Bitcoin stalls, it's not unusual for these altcoins to start drifting. They kind of run out of gas. Altcoins are very momentum bound with Bitcoin. And so while Bitcoin's running and all the money is flowing into Bitcoin, altcoins will follow, but they will poop out pretty quick if Bitcoin stalls. And we have seen the stalling of Bitcoin really over the past week. And earlier today, as I mentioned, we actually got below 51,000. So that's all we're seeing on DOT right now. It is nothing to be concerned about, nothing to be curious about really. And in the long term, it doesn't mean much. But if you are new to DOT, if you're new to crypto, if you're watching these prices go up and you're saying, hey, I should get into that, or you just got into that, or whatever the case may be, you've got to understand that this movement is a natural movement in crypto and financial instruments altogether. You are going to get ups and downs. And so if we do slip on back down into this level, hopefully this bottom level will hold and we can move on up, especially if Bitcoin starts going back up to that 53,000 level. But all you need to do right now is nothing. Okay. If you are in a coin you like and you have as much capital into crypto as you want, then you need to do nothing. If you're positioned where you want to be, you're fine, because DOT could easily do something like this and carry on higher. It's just going to be a matter of waiting to see how the market reacts around these levels, and more importantly, really, what Bitcoin is going to do. But Bitcoin is still insanely powerful right now. To give you an example of how powerful, here is a tweet by Bitcoin Magazine. Last week had the largest weekly inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs on record at $2.45 billion. Here is the bar for last week, 2.45 billion. It doubled the previous largest bars right here. The fact of the matter is, last week there was $500 million of new money coming into Bitcoin through these ETFs that were approved back in January. Until that stops, Bitcoin is extremely powerful. Will we get a retrace or a pullback? Some are calling for it. Historically, we have before the halving, and the halving is coming up, and I'll show you sometime in April. It's estimated to happen around April 20th. In previous halving cycles, we have had a run up like we have here, and then we would generally go through a retrace 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40% when Bitcoin was less mature. Bitcoin is more mature and has a lot of power behind it, as I just mentioned on the ETF. So I'm not expecting any type of 40% retrace, but a 10 to 20% retrace would put us somewhere between 40 and 45,000. And that's generally how we act around halvings. We do experience a retrace, we consolidate through and a little bit beyond the halving, and then it's a absolute bull move continuously for several months after. Okay, so that could happen. Some are saying because of all this demand flowing in, like I've already mentioned, it's not going to happen. We're going to continue to cruise upward. That will obviously affect DOT, but I'm not concerned, and neither should you be concerned long term. The fact of the matter is, in 20 and 24 and 25, DOT is expected to do very nicely. We will go up and break this high. That's my opinion, but I think it's would be held by many. Break its high and then continue on several multiples higher. At least we have the potential to do so based on however high Bitcoin is going to go. Let me give you one more instance of how powerful of a market we are that in Bitcoin that is historically strong. Rect Capital is someone I follow on Twitter. Historically, he says Bitcoin tends to break its 4-year cycle. 4-year cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a halving in the 4th year. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a halving on the 4th year. Here's our current cycle. What would this be? 20, 21, 22, nope. 21, 22, 23, and 2024, 4th year, and we have a halving coming up. Okay, that's the point. Bitcoin tends to break its 4-year cycle resistance, that's in black, in the halving year, candle 4. Okay, so here's the resistance. We broke it in year 4. Here's the resistance. We broke it in year 4. Here's the black resistance. We broke it in year 4. This cycle is no different in that regard. As you can see, here's the resistance. We've broken it in year 4. However, it is the first time ever that Bitcoin has broken this resistance in the pre-halving period. We are still in the pre-halving period. As I mentioned, the halving is not estimated to happen until sometime in April. So 1, 2, 3, 4 break, post-halving. 1, 2, 3, 4 break, post-halving. 1, 2, 3, 4 we've already broken, and we haven't even reached the bullish event of the halving. So Bitcoin is enormously strong, historically strong at this point. Hundreds of millions of dollars literally flowing in through a channel that has never been available to traders and institutional investors. That is the Bitcoin ETFs that have been approved. We are seeing an absolute rise in Bitcoin due to all this new money coming in. And fun fact, 80% of Bitcoin has not been traded, has not changed hands in the past 6 months. And why would it? If you own Bitcoin right now, why would you sell? You would not. You would hold or buy more. So as all of these billions of dollars come into Bitcoin every week, it's only able to go into 20% of the supply that is willing to move. And that's why we're seeing these runs up in these altcoins, including DOT. And that's why it's quite probable, or let's say at least say possible, that we're going to continue higher. Might we dip? I've already mentioned the scenario that we could dip, at least in Bitcoin. And if we go down to 40 and 45, we'll probably end up down here in DOT. But that's a short-term hiccup if it even happens. Long-term, 2024 and 25, we're only looking for higher highs. Right now, short term, let's watch and see how Bitcoin reacts and how DOT holds this level. Right now, it looks just fine. It's a couple reds. You got to get used to some reds. We've got more greens than reds. And across the board, over the past week, altcoins have done very well. Let's see if it bounces off this resistance. We'll give it a few hours to look. And I'll check back in about this time tomorrow and find out what kind of day we printed here. It's just started. The day has started an hour and a half ago, according to TradingView. It's a little red now. Might wake up tomorrow and find a nice green bar here. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, that is DOT and the critical level we are above now and that it must hold. Check back. I'll keep you updated on Polkadot.